25 years ago today, arguably one of the most shocking things in the history of professional wrestling took place at the Survivor Series, the 1997 pay-per-view, where Bret Hart was screwed, quite frankly. The Montreal Screwjob took place. We may be able to dive a bit more in depth on that later today, but there is so much else to talk about. We've got to talk about a lot of wrestling. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to BunkaMania, Bunkerzilla UK's official pro wrestling podcast. We are here to talk about the wrestling. I am Jeremy Graves. Thank you very much for checking out the show and joining me, as per usual, to help guide me along the way. Hopefully keep me on subject here and there, because who knows what I could say tonight. It's been a long day, but he is my good friend in crime, the Dekker Dane, Mr. Iain Boulton. Good sir, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday, the 9th of November, 2022?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. I'm trying to catch up with some wrestling bits because it's been a busy couple of weeks for me. It's winter. It's dark at night, early now. I don't like it. It scares me. There we go. It's not.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Well,
that was going to be a bombastic, yeah, hype moment for all. But yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I've been doing stuff. I've been going to cons. I've been seeing films. I actually saw Black Adam a couple of weeks ago.
I mean, technically a wrestling-related subject, so you know.
It is. And it didn't mean to hit my mic there, but it's all right. It's fine. I mean, The Rock appears. The Rock does The Rock stuff again. Doesn't really get defeated in battle or get knocked down. It's kind of like the whole thing of Fast and Furious has come back again. Obviously, he can't be defeated. He can't fall over. He can't show that he's injured. But he can just walk through walls for some reason. Because of course not.
We may come back to this as a topic, but just in case, on the off chance people don't want something spoiled, otherwise I might say something. But before we go any further, sir, a quick shout out to everybody watching live here on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you enjoy the show. If you want to post comments as we go along, we may get to those comments during the show as it progresses. If you're listening after the fact, thank you very much for checking out the show. And of course, if you are one of our audio-only listeners joining us on the likes of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, you can hit that subscribe button and do tell a friend. We would really appreciate it. I suppose the burning question now is, will we talk more Black Adam before the end of the show? Find out as we progress through the topics, because we have got a lot of ground to cover since our last show. We have got WWE's Crown Jewel pay-per-view, which took place this past weekend at the time we are recording this. We have got AEW's Full Gear coming up in just about a week and a half now, if I've got my dates right. There's also a few other bits and bobs on the news front as well. And so, Iain, I need to start off. I don't know if this is an apology from me, but I'm going to partially call it an apology because I didn't know I was going to do this. For some reason, which I still can't figure out, I ended up watching all of Crown Jewel.
What a lovely segue into the first topic.
I know on the last podcast,
just accidentally just rolled into it. It's not like it's on a script.
No, but literally, because I remember on the last show we did, I outright said, I ain't going to watch it. I said, I'll probably check out the main event out of morbid curiosity. I have zero intention of watching it. I can't remember the timeline, but I think I ended up putting the show on to think, right, let's try and figure out what the match order is. And I saw the first match was Brock and Lashley. I thought, oh, go on, I'll watch a giant horse fight. Go on. Then I just was kind of on my phone for a decent amount. I had a pizza, which was nice, and I just didn't turn it off. And then I just ended up watching the whole show.
It was your background amusement for Saturday night.
Yeah, and I will say, as a show overall, all politicky stuff aside and all that stuff, 'cause we've covered that before, as a show, it wasn't actually too bad.
No. I mean, it's the continuing trend of the Triple H era of decent wrestling shows when it comes to these premium live events or big pay-per-views. Whether they be A-grade shows or B-grade shows, they deliver in some way. And yeah, I mean, some of the matches are kind of throwaway, per se. I mean, you look at, say, Usos versus Brawling Brutes. I mean, results never in question because they'd been heavily talking about the New Day, and that's leading into SmackDown this Friday. So it's more like a nice little showcase match just to kind of, again, show off the Brawling Brutes, who are improving, and it's great to see. And they seem to be getting well with crowds as well. So only a few kind of things were kind of story. I think only a few things were kind of story pushed a bit. Obviously, we have the main event, Reigns and Paul, which we will talk about in a little bit. But yeah, other than that, it's like some stories are just kind of finishing up, like Drew and Carrion and Damage Control and Belair, Bliss and Oscar is still a thing, which is going to lead into War Games, which again we'll talk about later on. But generally decent show. I think from what I've seen, I haven't seen all of it, but from what I've seen, it was a pretty decent show.
Yeah, I mean, overall, put it this way, this is going to sound harsh. It's missable. Like, you really don't need to see the show, but if you're looking for something just to kill some time, and you're like, go on, have it on, there's definitely some things worth checking out on there. Like, the main event, and I mean this in the politest way possible, it's probably good as a place as any to start, actually.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the phrase, it's far better than it had any right to be, but it was far better than it had any right to be. Because Logan Paul's 2 matches he's had before this have been great. Like, it's undeniable. They have been great, be it because of the people he was in the ring with, just the circumstance. Everything about it has worked out great. Was I happy to see Logan Paul's brother Jake Paul involved? No, absolutely not. But it was a minor thing. It's clearly going to lead to a match with him and Solo Sikoa at some point, or some kind of confrontation. Heck, maybe a tag match in the future. That will probably be a way to get around that. But in terms of the match itself, it was, as is kind of traditional now for Roman Reigns matches, as I've figured out, incredibly slow beginning. My God, it was so slow. But when it picked up, and I could go on a very long tangent, but I'll try and keep this brief so I can ask you a question to see what your take on this is. But
okay,
I thought the idea that Roman Reigns was underestimating Logan Paul was a good story. But I think the idea he was underestimating him to the point where Logan Paul, could dethrone him. Given it's his 3rd match in, there's an element of it which I don't think that element of it worked particularly well. There's I don't know. It's really hard to articulate that, but that part of it took me out of it. But as a match on its own, I thought it was very, very strong. Because conceivably, Roman could just underestimate someone. But the idea that he would underestimate someone in a defense of his championship to that degree, that level of rookie, if you will. There was a part of it that just didn't sit as well with me, but not taking any away from Logan Paul himself.
I kind of think considering it's Paul's 3rd match, I think the fact of Reigns really underestimating does kind of work in this storyline per se, and being very dismissive of Paul throughout most of this little feud. I mean, even in the opening bits and pieces where they're doing obviously the arm chokes and the chin locks and stuff like that, and you got Reigns calling out other YouTubers for no reason other than just to kind of be the dickish heel that he is. No, I think the underestimating element worked to the point that it made a potential believable case that Paul could win. I mean, because again, it's like, as much as when we talked about it previously, and we were both pretty much unanimous in agreement that Reigns has to win this, otherwise the wrestling world as we know it is going to end. But again, it's like part of me coming into the match still had that sense of they couldn't they? Just to get like headline news, especially with a star like Logan Paul, especially in the social climate and especially in social media, sports and stuff like that. It's like WWE. I mean, under Vince, I would probably say this was highly more likely to happen. But there was always that sort of slight bit of Paul could actually win the belt here.
What if?
What if? Yeah, it's a what if side of thing. But no, the right decision.
Like a Marvel comic.
Yeah, I mean, the right decision still happened. Reigns was the right person to win. The reign continues.
Haha, see what you did there.
Yeah, see what I did there. But no, ultimately in all, I thought it was just, this was, I mean, I thought we will have a fun match. I didn't expect it to be this sort of fun. And again, it's a showcase for Paul's just sheer athleticism.
He's insane. He's annoyingly good. That's the way I'm going to put it. He's annoyingly too good at this, but I mean that in a positive way.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you see him like doing like jumps off the top turnbuckle, getting height just like the same as like Montez Ford. It's like this is just madness in a way.
Did you see his buckshot lariat that he did?
Oh yes,
it was really good.
It rattled. It's a buckshot lariat that some people are going. It might be better than Hangman Page's. I mean, I think I like Page's more. Page's more. I like Page's one more simply because the clothesline instantly connects after like the front flip. With Paul, he did a front flip and then a slight run in a clothesline, which doesn't really feel like a buckshot lariat to me, but it was still very impressive to see nonetheless, to be honest.
On the scale of buckshot lariats that have been attempted this calendar year, we've got Adam Page, Logan Paul, CM Punk.
I think you have to go much lower for CM Punk. I think you have to go right to the bottom of the floor. Because bless him, he tried, but it broke his foot.
And you know what did Logan Paul? He freaking screwed up his knee and like his leg all sorts of sideways and whatnot. He did it by various accounts now. I think he did it on the big table spot where he was filming himself in the air launching to Roman. Around
there or just after. Maybe, but I mean, it's like watching the match, you couldn't really tell that he damaged his leg, which
you'd never have known.
You would never have known until he did his little social media post. Oh, I've taught a few things. Yay, wrestling!
Here's me on the trainer's table with a ridiculously large ice bag on it.
Oh no! But yeah, obviously, one of the big clips of the weekend is obviously Logan Paul actually recording himself doing said move with his own phone, which was pretty cool, especially with the slow motion bit of him in midair before crashing down on Roman. I gotta admit, it's like, I might not like the guy, but that was kind of cool.
You know what else was funny more than anything? Wade Barrett politely calling out Logan Paul for using his Bad News Barrett podium for his entrance.
Only I could give some bad news.
I will say, I totally forgot that Wade Barrett was doing commentary on the main roster now because I don't watch the weekly TV stuff.
Yeah, Barrett does SmackDown only. Corey Graves should have been doing premium live events, but obviously with the recent news of Carmella, unfortunately,
personal things with Carmella,
personal thing,
and what she announced recently, which
with her pregnancy and stuff like that. I think it was fairly understandable why Graves was not there, but I mean, I'm happy with Barrett as a commentator. I mean, he's fairly easy to listen to in NXT when he was there, and absolutely fine on SmackDown, to be perfectly honest. But it's still quite fun. It's just still quite fun listening to Cole just unrestricted now from Vince McMahon and just screaming, "One lucky punch! It's one lucky punch!" It's like, is one lucky punch a better punching move than the Big Show's slow punch? There's the question that no one needs to discuss.
I mean, the bigger thing that still needs to be addressed at some point is that a punch is not a legal wrestling move. Just saying. But we can move on. So, yeah, the match was really freaking good. There's a fantastic photo that has done the rounds of Logan Paul about 50 million feet in the air trying to do a punch towards Roman Reigns, and there's Roman just ready to pop him as well. And the amount of parody images that have come around from that, it's been a wonderful thing amongst the sea of insanity that Twitter is at the moment.
I mean, Botchamania's been sharing some of the best ones. The one I shared with Jeremy was Marge Simpson just kind of like compressing herself into the ground, ready to like do a boogie or something like that. Like,
if you want to try and bring it up on screen for the video viewers, you can if you want to.
I will see if I can. But there was also another one of Guile ready to do the Sonic kick.
Oh, the flash kick.
yeah, that's it. That's the one. I'll see if I can find it.
Oh, there we go. So, where do we go from here? Obviously, Logan Paul is injured. To the severity of it, we still don't fully know yet. But I think the initial prognosis, like without scans, was a torn ACL, like MCL, and possibly meniscus injury, which is like you've basically lost a leg in many ways.
Pretty much.
So one would assume when Logan Paul does something else actively in ring, one would assume the absolute earliest it could ever possibly be at this point would be WrestleMania. More likely, SummerSlam, in my opinion.
It really depends on the severity. I mean, a video has gone out today of Paul already doing rehab. So obviously, if it was really serious, I guess you wouldn't be seeing the levels of kind of rehabbing that they're starting to do in the video. So maybe it's a mild tear. Maybe it's not as bad as, say, ones that cause people to be out of action for nearly a year.
Maybe Logan Paul's just like a new John Cena, where he could just get better miraculously.
Probably. There's also that as well with his athleticism. But I mean, on my notes, I've basically said we're so getting the Paul brothers versus the Usos at Mania. That's part of me.
Or you're thinking now.
That's what I'm thinking. Or a 6-man tag, and they'll bring KSI along.
Yeah, I can see that.
It could work. It could work. I mean, also,
I said I didn't want Logan Paul's podcast lackeys also get pummeled in the match.
Yeah. I mean, complete side tangent. Footballer, Akin Fenway used to play for Wycombe Wanderers.
For Wycombe, Adebayo Akin Fenway, yeah.
Yeah, because he's recently done, I think he's about to, or has recently just done some stuff for Progress, or just being kind of like involved in a Progress event.
He's built like a freaking tank. He should have always done it.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I think there's a documentary on Amazon Prime which is talking about his football career. And so I'm looking forward to what the next steps of his career going to be. He's blatantly doing wrestling now. It's considering he did like a really cool 30-minute interview with Sheamus while they're both kind of working out at the gym and just really getting psyched up for Clash of the Castle. I think we've talked about that before, but yes, going back across to Logan Paul and stuff like that, I would not be surprised. I think it could be, in more chances, it could be a 6-man tag if we're going to include Solo Secura in there as well. Maybe, I don't know. And for the benefit of the video watchers and the people on YouTube right now, here's that wonderful image.
It's so good. Just a picture of Marge Simpson in place of Roman Reigns getting ready to just wallop Logan Paul. It's great.
She looks far too happy to be in that ring. Look how
it's probably all her rage building up.
Look at how high he is, though.
Yeah.
It's mad.
Yeah. Really, you know what I will say, actually, and this is perhaps an incredibly weird observation to make, but obviously when it comes to really prominent YouTubers and I'll call them internet video celebrities, if you will, and that sort of people
content creators.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the word.
There we go. That's what we kind of on away.
The proper high echelon level. And it shows you I'm not one because I couldn't remember that phrase. But the reaction of the crowd in Saudi Arabia, it kind of gives a new level of appreciation to just how far an audience level like that does travel. Because obviously we know that you hear all the time about people of that ilk being really popular globally. You maybe see them go and do a tour or something or make a public appearance, and it's always popular. But it was notable in the crowd. I think even from some of the press conference footage that they showed as well, that everyone knew who he was. And there were people proper reacting to him. And it kind of just really adds the appreciation of why, as much as some people could in some ways very fairly be very against the idea of Logan Paul being in a wrestling ring, in terms of eyeballs and what he brings with him, you totally understand it, and it is completely justifiable.
I mean, going on those lines, but kind of looking more at the roster at the moment, one of the most surprising things at, say, the press conference per se, are chants for Sami Zayn. Which, I think
awkward.
Yeah, awkward. I think we have talked about why Sami does not go to the Saudi shows anyway. But again, something like that is a testament of how big of a star he is becoming in WWE. That's the thing. It's like he's arguably one of, if not the best thing currently in WWE. And because I don't think we've talked about the Uzi promo.
We haven't yet. Not feeling very Uzi.
Not feeling very Uzi. That segment is probably one of the most. It's kind of like it had everything. It had drama. It had suspense when Jay just went, "I don't give a damn what the tribal chief wants." With the Roman Reigns stare down the camera of, "Oh shit, son, you've messed up."
And then also him trying not to corpse as well. because of the whole Usi thing and just the reaction, just Jay having to hold his hands up in front of his face just to block himself.
And Roman going, no, you come here, you come stand with us, you take this pain with us.
Just the biggest troll in the world. It was just the biggest rib. It was so good.
But that's how good Zayn and the Bloodline storyline has got so far. It's like you go from holy shit, this is happening moment of like Jay being the one to kind of really irk Roman Reigns, to just like, it's like when, again, it's very similar to when Sammy lost his t-shirt and got a new t-shirt. And it's like you have that sort of, oh, this is fun. Oh no, this is about to go wrong. And there's oh no, it's great. Everyone cheer and have a nice laugh and that sort of stuff. I mean, the dread's coming. The dread is still there. Sooner or later, something is happening, either to Sammy or to Jay. Maybe, who knows? Chances are it'll probably be Sammy.
And the logical time at the moment for it to potentially happen is probably Survivor Series, because we now, not to jump too far ahead, because we'll get onto it proper, but we now know seemingly that the War Games matches are 5-on-5.
Yes.
For sure now. So,
yes.
What are there currently in the Bloodline? There's 5 people if you include Sammy. It's like...
We got a Roman, we got some Usos, we got a Solo, and we got a little Sami Zayn over there.
So, fingers point, quite literally, to that being...
one team.
To that being the time for it to happen.
Or something in that, or something in the War Games match happens for the following show or so for said event to happen. Again, it's like the whole thing of Jay kind of going against Roman or kind of shouting his displeasure at Roman. It kind of makes the suggestion that it might not be Sammy who's getting the boot per se. It might very well be Jay. Jay might go off, feud against the Bloodline with his own little faction or something. I don't know.
Which in a way would be a very weird full circle thing, given how this all started. Considering
the main event Jey Uso storyline in a way. But the fact is, I think that's the good thing about this storyline, especially with the Bloodline right now, is it can go anywhere. It can fracture. It can fracture off in different places, or so forth. It's and part of me really wants to see Sami Zayn get renamed Sami Uso and be the adopted son of Rikishi.
My word. The other thing as well, though, is this story, and I appreciate we're devoting so much time to this, but that's how good it is. But this story is now at a point where everyone wants to see what's the next big chapter. Like, what's going to be the next big sort of cliffhanger moment. And there is a danger potentially of whatever they do, it's either going to swim like the greatest duck to water in the world, or it could just sink like a slab of concrete in an ocean. But it depends how they do it. And one of the other elements, which is a potential wrinkle, depending on how far along they are rehabbing, is where, if at all, does Cody Rhodes fit in? Because logic would dictate, if a year ago, WrestleMania, he came back and after that was saying he wants to win the title, the logical assumption was he'll dethrone Roman. It made sense at the time, but now the rise of Sammy.
I mean, there's a lot of spinning plates in the air that, again, I say it's the wrong way to say, because spinning plates are kind of like things that need to be looked after. It's kind of like there are a lot of options now appearing on the table. To us, because originally it's like after Drew, I think a lot of us were kind of just going, well, where do we go from here now? In a way, because we were still unsure about how Karrion Kross would fit into this. Again, people were still kind of thinking, back in mind thinking maybe Cody, but the rise of Sammy, we've got Bray back and doing his own wacky thing, which is captivating, but it's I feel that's a slow burner. At the moment.
That's because he hasn't done anything.
Well, he's doing internal character monologuing, which is very good. So
and something was teased as well with Alexa Bliss in a backstage promo at Crown Jewel.
Yes, with the Wyatt or the so-called Wyatt 6 logo. It's like so it's a weird faction name. but only if there's 6. It'll work if there's only if there's 6 members. I don't know. Anyway,
look forward to there being 7.
I know. They all the 6 reflect to his different like personas across WWE. Where was I going with this? But yeah, I think this
the rise of Sammy.
This rise of Sammy. Interesting thing. Elimination Chambers in Canada this year or next year. So part of me is thinking maybe if we're putting the trigger on Sammy eventually going face or being babyface against Roman, you could have a match at Elimination Chamber. Whoever wins Rumble, which could very well be Cody, could be Cody. I mean, could be The Rock if they're going to do The Rock. But then again, it's like as much as The Rock and Roman does not need the belts, but they're probably going to end up using the belts, which will be a shame. But if that's the case, if it's the belts, then Roman has to win. To be perfectly honest, I think we've talked about this many times. It's like this is the thing. There are so many different elements and people because again, it's like Bray didn't lose his Bray didn't get pinned all those months ago for Roman to start his reign. He pinned Braun.
Sorry, you saying Roman to start his reign? Sorry.
This is the problem when you call someone Reign.
Would you like another potential wrinkle that I think could, if WWE went in this direction with how they're going to do it, this could be a wrinkle. WrestleMania is in Hollywood. If there was ever a time to have The Rock headlining a WrestleMania.
I think that's the sole reason. I think that's probably one of the sole reasons it's in Hollywood is they want that match. And I would love to see that match. I think a lot of fans would love to see that match. The question is, I think the thing is, I'll believe it when they pull the trigger on it. And if they don't pull the trigger on it at WrestleMania next year, I don't think it will happen. I don't think it will happen. Or if anything, it will devolve into like maybe a promo segment or something like that.
I mean, a way to get around the title problem, which depending on how you want the cards to shape out, would basically be have Roman defend the belt night 1 and night 2 is him v The Rock. Either way, it's a non-title match. But to advertise it ahead of time, this isn't about the belts. This is about family sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's one way of potentially doing it.
But it would work the other way around, though. I think it will work better the other way around where it's Roman Rock for the belt. Roman wins, but he still has to face another person on Sunday night. And then you've got your crowning moment of whoever they have picked to be the one to dethrone him, get the belt at WrestleMania. It could be as simple as that. Again, it's like I think it's an exciting thing for WWE fans or wrestling fans doing that because there's so many factors now going on. It's like there's not just a clear there's not a clear answer to this. There are many other alternatives. There are many other answers. There are many other ways. I mean, hell, who knows? It could be someone who hasn't even joined the company yet. It could be Braun Breaker for all we know. He might just pop up to WrestleMania and just go, I just want a chance to prove myself, like he did against LA Knight on the very first 2.0 episode, and then suddenly win. Where do things have happened?
Exactly. So in an attempt to try and get through a bit more of Crown Jewel, as it were, some other just quick notes. The Usos, as you mentioned, retained the tag team titles against Brawling Brutes. Drew McIntyre... Sorry?
No, I was nodding. I was agreeing.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was wrong then for a second. Sorry.
No.
Drew McIntyre beat Karrion Kross in a cage match, which somehow still had Scarlett be involved. But you know, that's what cage matches are for.
They keep people out. No. You get a padded cell that keeps people out. You can still spray mace through the blooming bars.
I mean, look at this point. Have a hang above the ring in a shark cage. Problem solved. Well, no, it won't be problem solved. She'll drop down some mace.
Anyway. Just spray the mace from above and just see where it goes.
We had Bianca Belair defeating Bayley in a ladder match, which involved a golf buggy being used on the entrance ramp.
Correction, last woman standing.
Sorry, it's because there was a ladder involved. That's why.
Yes, ladder was involved in the finish, but yeah.
Good match. I thought they did some cool stuff. I feared for Bayley's knee every single time. I don't know why, but the golf buggy thing was interesting. I will say, and even Wade Barrett had to acknowledge it on commentary when they were driving down the entrance ramp, and Bayley was hanging on for dear life. Even Wade basically went, "Wasn't that fast?" Just like, yeah, I agree, Wade. Thank you for speaking my mind.
They're very slowly getting to the ring.
Damage Control won the belts back from Asuka and Alexa Bliss. I don't know why I totally blanked out on who it was then.
Mm-hmm.
So, title change on the show. It's a noteworthy show in that sense. We had the Judgment Day defeating the OC in a 6-man tag match. There was also the other element in the back of my mind, because I can't remember if they still acknowledged Anderson being the never champion of New Japan. It's like, that's a bit on the nose, given he was meant to wrestle that same day in Japan.
I think they have referenced.
Well, I can't remember if they acknowledged it on the actual show, but I have a vague feeling they may have done.
But I think they have. I think they have mentioned it prior.
Yeah, so that's kind of still a thing looming over. But it was good to see those folks back together. And of course, Brock Lesnar beats Bobby Lashley.
By pure accident, by just going, I'm just going to roll onto Bobby's back. I've won.
If you ever thought that the finish would be basically like Stone Cold and Bret Hart from Survivor Series 96, the $1 Million Dream pinfall, it was basically that. It's just like, wow, way to make two hosses look like they didn't just pummel each other.
But to a point, Lashley did just kind of manhandle Brock for most of that match, and then after the match as well. So I think the nice thing is we're seeing Lashley being built up to a similar level as Lesnar now. So it's not like Lesnar just does suplex F5. Oh, Lesnar's won. I mean, I think they're turning. I think Lashley's going heel at the moment, looking on Raw. But again, it's like Lashley's good when he's just obliterating people. There's a great video of him doing a promo backstage at Raw this week. Mustafa Ali just tries to attack him. He just picks up Ali, throws him, and you just see him in the background just smack onto some cases and just roll off into a small hole or something like that. It's like, right, done with that. Let's get on with this. The other thing.
Speaking of backstage segments on Raw, can we talk about Nikki Cross and Damage Control?
Yes, we can. Let me bring up the WWE Roundup button. There we go.
Okay,
we're done with Crown Jewel.
So there was a very fun segment backstage whereby Damage Control were walking with Nikki Cross, who was just staring off to yonder, and they're walking by a bin, and Nikki Cross attempts to throw the 24/7 title belt into the bin, somehow misses it. You hear it land in a heap on the ground. And I think like Bayley and Dakota are like looking on. And apparently just before the segment was shut off, like even Dakota walked into a wall or something. It was like, it had to have been a live segment. But one of my favorite parts was Big Damo, which is Nikki Cross's other half, who used to be Killian Dane in NXT.
Yes.
I think he quote tweeted it and basically went, look, she never played basketball, all right? Or something to that effect. So, it was one thing you couldn't ignore it.
Nikki came back saying, I wonder what it's like. I don't know why my application to the WBA has been rejected. I just love how the sound it makes when it hits the floor. It's like the belt got damaged even more on the floor than it did in the bin.
That'll be like in the WWE archive warehouse whenever they do those shows again.
Yeah.
Here's the 24/7 title belt that Nikki Cross did not throw in a bin.
Yeah. I mean, it does. I hope it does symbolize the end of the 24/7 championship, because let's be honest, no one really cared about the belt. I know that's a bit of a disservice to some champions. I know Dana Brooks being very vocal about people kind of looking down on that, because I think she tried to do something. She was trying to make the belt work in some way. It just, unfortunately, I don't think management kind of shared that same view, and I don't think a lot of fans kind of share that same view. I mean, it's like I hate to say it, cherishing the 24/7 title is not something you kind of want to be proud about, to be honest.
It would put it this way: if the belt had got thrown in the bin, I would have expected someone like, I don't know, who's a comedy character would just pick it out the bin, because it happened in WCW.
Oh, Otis. Let's say Otis or Chad Gable.
Yeah. Someone would have just found it and picked it out the bin and then carried on. I mean, it happened in WCW. I think Scott Hall threw the WCW TV title in the bin, and then Hacksaw found it, and then he was then champion and was defending the belt.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that was WCW, so that notwithstanding. But yeah, so that's occurred. What other random notes are there worth mentioning when it comes to weekly TV this week? I heard that Rey Mysterio and Gunther was really good fun.
I watched that match this evening just ahead of the show. It was terrific.
As expected.
As expected. It's like Gunther in a ring with a good veteran. You're going to get something good. It's like they're making Intercontinental Championship mean something, and obviously having Gunther defend it every so often is quite nice. I think they've announced a World Cup on WWE on SmackDown, and I think the prize is a date with Gunther.
What a prize!
What a prize to get your chest smacked in. Oh,
have they announced any participants of that?
I'll take a quick gander, but one of the big holy S word moments of Gunther versus Rey Mysterio is towards the end. It's the finish of Rey is about to do 619, and Gunther just suddenly springs up and delivers one of the most hellacious big boots I have seen. That I literally swore very loudly in my front room.
That's when you know it was a good boot.
It's a good boot. It's a good boot and a good attack when someone really shouts out things. WWE World Cup. Here we go. So it's the WWE SmackDown World Cup. Wonderful. Hopefully that doesn't mean Shane McMahon's coming back to win it. What we got here? So announcers explained it's an 8-person tournament. Participants have yet to be named. Obviously it's a tie-in to do with the World Cup, which is starting in a couple of days' time. So I mean, if we're doing a World Cup, technically you've got to put different nations in there. So if you're going to have probably United Kingdom, well, you're definitely
let's go to the roster page. Let's take a look at this.
If you're going United Kingdom, you're definitely throwing in Ridge or Butch, probably Butch. Sheamus is probably going to be in there. I think this might be the way we get to the final Sheamus versus Gunther match.
So I'm trying a quick gander at the roster. I'm just trying to pick out people, as I'm just looking through, that may represent different nations. Admittedly, I'm not au fait with everyone. I mean, Akira Tozawa could be Japan if they want him involved.
If he's on SmackDown, yeah.
Isn't he back in NXT now? Is Apollo Crews being Nigerian now or not?
Apollo Crews is back in NXT, American Nigerian. So he's speaking with American accent now. Trying to think. In terms of the most active roster, if you're doing Canada, you've got Sami Zayn right there, I suppose.
Give me freaking Sami Zayn and Gunther, for crying out loud.
I mean, unless this is how Sami gets his own bit of gold for the bloodline. No. I still stand by my prediction many weeks ago. I still think Sheamus is going to take that belt eventually. The question is when. It's more.
Have they said if this tournament is SmackDown specific roster wise, or
I think so, because if it's Intercontinental belt, then it's definitely going to be SmackDown. But then again, they might have a bit of fun and might just say a wild card entry from NXT, because you can bring in Grayson Waller, New Zealand. There's that. You can bring in, obviously Nakamura could represent Japan. And yeah, there are many different options here. There are some definitely different. American, you can just bring in Braun Strowman if he hasn't annoyed many people already with his comments on Twitter this past week.
Less said about it, the better.
Yeah, I think we'll get more. I think this week on SmackDown, we'll probably get a better shout, because they're going to probably kick it off as soon as the World Cup starts. So,
mate, what if the other members of Imperium are just in this tournament?
Oh yeah, you can. Oh yes, you can get.
You can have Marcel Bartel and Giovanni Vinci in there.
So Ludwig Kaiser represent Germany.
Sorry, that's his name now, isn't it? Sorry.
Giovanni Vinci will represent Italy. There you go. Germany, Italy. There you go. Get Santos Escobar in there. Got Mexico.
We need an American in there, I guess.
You need one American. Oh, let's say
Rey Mysterio could represent Mexico potentially.
Well, no, we could just throw Ricochet in. Ricochet's in America, or LA Knight. Let him talk to us. Yeah.
Nakamura's Japanese.
Yeah, Japanese. Yep. Mention that.
Santos Escobar.
Santos Escobar. There's I think there's some good options there to fill out a nice field. If it's probably going to be what, an 8-person tournament, so it'll be.
I think that's what you mentioned. Yeah,
There's
Humberto in there. So... Heck, Drew McIntyre's Scottish.
There you go. There you go.
Wait, did Scotland make it to the World Cup? I genuinely don't remember.
Don't know. I think Wales did.
Yeah, because I think they announced their teams today, didn't they?
Oh, but then, not gonna lie, Drew versus Gunter sounds really good as well.
I know, right?
I mean, if we're being, there's little reports that Cena will be wrestling at Mania, and I'm just gonna put it out there: Cena versus Gunter would be good as well.
A lot of matches versus Gunter would be great. Just saying.
Because as long as everyone gets absolutely butchered by Gunter, I'll be fine. Who knows? Who knows? Gunter might lose the belt before the Rumble, and Gunter might be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns.
Maybe.
Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, we mentioned briefly about War Games, because Survivor Series War Games is coming up for the Thanksgiving weekend. And at the moment, the only War Games match we know is happening is Damage Control, plus Nikki Cross, plus someone else.
Plus mysterious person, ?
Plus mysterious person. Wouldn't surprise me if it's Rhea Ripley, to be honest, if we're having a team of heels. Versus Belair, Bliss, Asuka, and 2 other people. 2 mystery people. I mean, if you're going to bring back Naomi and Sasha,
there's a logical option there, isn't there?
There's a logical option there. It's probably not going to be them, though.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have stopped the... Hang on, I'll have to go back on the roster page now, so I just left it.
Oh, fair enough. But yeah, that's the only kind of thing they've I think we'll start the road to War Games properly from SmackDown this week. And I think we will probably have Gunter versus whoever wins the World Cup thing at War Games. I'm calling it War Games now. It's not Survivor Series. It's War Games now. War Games Survivor Series. War Games. What if the War Games match is also a Survivor Series match?
I mean, forgive me for how this is going to sound. It technically is.
But everyone gets in first, and then someone loses by 1 pinfall.
Sorry, right.
Everyone gets it. So everyone gets in.
I misinterpreted what you meant. Yeah, so as in make it elimination.
Yeah. Could work. Could be good.
Candice could be in the match.
Yeah, I mean, Damage Control being up Candice. They might lean on Dana Brooke because of the 24/7 thing with Nikki. Maybe.
Has Charlotte come back yet?
No, not yet.
Becky's still out with a shoulder, right?
Becky's still out. Yes. Ronda is currently busy being best friends with Shayna Baszler.
Ronda is currently busy.
Ronda is doing something. Oh, random side tangent. Emma's back in WWE.
I've literally just seen her pop up on the roster page. It's like, Emma's back.
Yes, she answered an open challenge to Ronda 2 weeks ago. It's nice to see Emma back. So yeah, I mean, it's very early.
Sorry, I've really caught off guard. I suddenly saw Greg Miller from Kind of Funny listed on the WWE roster page, and that really caught me off guard.
Oh, fair enough. But no, I think we'll get a clear idea of what's happening in War Games from SmackDown onwards this weekend. I mean, the men's War Games match, it's definitely the Bloodline versus a group of 5. The question is who the group of 5 is going to be. Because it's like, I don't know, it's like I want a good ragtag team to go up against the Bloodline per se. So yeah, I can imagine
Riddle would.
I imagine Riddle will get involved. I imagine Drew would probably get involved. I mean, because he is kind of starting to become a babyface, you could bring in Seth. But I think Seth's going to be preoccupied with either Lashley or whoever else is challenging from the US title.
Vince McMahon's still listed on the roster page.
They need to update the page. Yeah, it's
Is
weird.
Orton still out injured in a big way?
Orton is still out injured apparently. I'm pondering. I'm really pondering. Hopefully we'll get an idea. I think we'll get an idea of who will be stepping up to the Bloodline this week, probably on SmackDown. But again, it's like, I think if you're going to do a ragtag group, they kind of need to be unified by something. And it usually will probably be a hatred of Roman Reigns and the bloodline. So there's lots of people there. Actually, it might actually be a good point to bring back Kevin Owens for a bit, because he's been kind of he's been off TV, not because of injury, but I think it's just kind of, we need to kind of we're letting the Sami Zayn stuff play out naturally first before we reintroduce Kevin into the storyline. So it might be the time and point to do it. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. We'll have to see.
Final point on this, but I think it's one that's totally not worth mentioning, but is very random and a good way to have a segue into something else. There is a person listed on the WWE roster page simply known as Vacant. And
Vacant can enter War Games.
There you go.
Just Vacant. Get Vacant in War Games. He'll take them all down. But I think the only other major story in WWE, you could say it's major in one way and baffling in another. It is the cash-in. It's finally happened. Austin Theory cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase on Seth Rollins, who was holding an open challenge. And thanks to some interference by Lashley and then one clean stomp, Austin Theory joins the Failures Club of Baron Corbin, John Cena, Damien Sandown, and Braun Strowman. To be perfectly honest, I'm not mad. I'm just kind of
disappointed.
I'm not disappointed. I'm part of me is just glad the Money in the Bank thing's just being thrown out the window for this year, because it's just, I think, and a lot of other wrestling sites and commentators have picked this up. I think it was a very big albatross. I think, unfortunately, for Theory, in a way, considering McMahon had kind of invested a lot in Theory. Because we're coming up to nearly the 1 year of McMahon Theory thing starting last year of a bloody golden egg. The egg, yeah. And yeah, so it's kind of, it's been a big albatross. The fact of the matter is they clearly have made it clear that he was never going to cash it in on Roman Reigns. Or every time he's trying to, it's failed. And I don't think audiences had kind of believed Theory would be someone who could just cash it in on Reigns or whoever was a champion at that time. So yeah, it's an annoying waste of Money in the Bank for another year. But I mean, it's out of the way. It's over and done with.
The thing that makes him look worse is the fact he did it when there was an open challenge. Accept the open challenge. When you lose, immediately cash in again. You get another title match.
Yeah. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Seth did an open challenge. Lashley came out, brutalized Seth even before bell rang. Then Austin went, "Oh yeah, I'm going to cash in now." I was like, "No, what?" I mean, because part of me was really hoping he'd try and cash in on the NXT title, because that would be fun. Because then Austin can spend some more time developing, or kind of really getting that connection with the crowd. Because I think that's the thing that's just not necessarily working. I think we've talked about this. I think that's the thing that's just not working at the moment, is the character doesn't work. I mean, I enjoyed him more as goofy, kind of silly, heelish baby face sidekick to Johnny Gargano in The Way, but as A-Town Down, I don't care, to be honest. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity for Theory to kind of just, and I think Theory and Creative to kind of just put him on a better course, or kind of just course correct him a bit, because I think the Vince stuff has probably derailed it a bit, because being handpicked again, the whole sort of chosen one side of things, obviously in light of things, it hasn't been good, and it's the remnants of the McMahon booking era, like the 24/7 title. So it's frustrating. It's disappointing, because Money in the Bank usually produces some really cool moments when some people are cashing in, but it's like I'm amused. I'm not angry. I'm not disappointed. I'm just relieved that it's over and done with. It's over and done with for another year. Because I think one of the rumors, and I think this is a story that came up between episodes, between this and the last episode, is they are looking at the premium live event calendar. They're changing a few, so there are some gimmick ones that are possibly going. So bye Hell in a Cell. Maybe
really? All right.
It may be Money in the Bank. Might no longer be an actual show. It might actually return to its WrestleMania base. So you could do it 2 nights. Do the men's on one night, do the women's on the other. There you go.
But that's also the philosophy of do things when it's warranted, as opposed to do things because you have to.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big talk at the moment is King of the Ring might come back as an actual proper premium live event, not a random TV special. So we'll see. But yeah, Money in the Bank. With the I don't know. I can't really add anything else. I'm just kind of, that's it. Let's move on.
So if you're watching the video version, I looked really weird then. I thought I was going to sneeze and I didn't. I'm just saying. For the audio listeners, you'd never have known.
Do I have to get Marge Simpson to go, punch?
That's what I felt like for a second, I'll tell you that much. So, okay, I'll tell you what. Let's park the WWE talk for a few minutes. We may come back to it, as it were.
I think we've done enough WWE talk for this episode.
So, AEW. Acclaimed every Wednesday. There you go.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I know, right?
Wrong. The Acclaim are on there every Wednesday in some way.
Hey, that's their catchphrase, not mine. I will not take any credit for it. So we are on the road to Full Gear. The current card looks as follows: Moxley defending the title against MJF. We've got the interim women's championship match, which has been confirmed. Toni Storm defending against Jamie Hayter. That's going to be good as well. We've got the tag team title match. The Acclaimed defending against Keith Lee and Swerve. For the ROH title, Chris Jericho will be defending against Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson, and Sammy Guevara. Because Jericho is a fighting champion, and he will face both of the BCC members at the same time, but also have Sammy in the ring as well, because he know if it comes to it, he'll do the right thing.
I mean, this isn't going to go the way Jericho wants it to go.
Oh, obviously.
Obviously. But it's going to end up being a 2-on-2 match for most of it, and then Bryan Danielson and Claudio just go, oh, wait, we're fighting now. Punch each other in a way.
Yeah, the storyline sort of being that Danielson in general is very angry at the moment.
He's angry about a lot of things.
Yeah, and Claudio never got his rematch. So I reckon there may be a bit of a BCC blow up in that match, as it were, and that will lead to a match between Claudio and Bryan, which I'm more than game for.
That's fine.
We also have the World Title Eliminator Tournament. You may recall that last year, this ultimately culminated in Danielson versus Miro, if memory serves. Or Miro ended up being the replacement person for Jon Moxley because Moxley went away for a few months.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Danielson won the tournament. I can't actually remember who he beat in the end, admittedly.
But, I think he beat Miro. Beat Miro.
But so Danielson was the one that won it, ended up getting championship match accordingly. The field for the tournament this time around is as follows: Ethan Page versus Eddie Kingston, and that's taking place tonight on Dynamite at the time we're recording this. Then on Friday on Rampage, we have got Bandido, who has now seemingly signed an AEW contract as well, going up against Roosh. The winners of those two will advance to the semi-final on that side of the bracket. The other side of the bracket is Lance Archer v. Ricky Starks and Brian Cage versus Dante Martin. Ooh, Rampage is going to be loaded this week, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
So I think that's a nice, unique field. It's not as star-studded as... You could very easily argue it's not as star-studded, but it does feel like they're trying to build towards something for the future here.
The nice thing is they're people who have not necessarily featured in a proper world title picture. Exactly. I know Dante Martin's had a match for it before. I know Lance Archer, so I wouldn't necessarily say Archer or Martin's probably going to win this one. Mm-hmm. If I had to pick any from that field, I actually would like it to be Ricky Starks.
Yep. I think ultimately it'll either be Ricky Starks or Ethan Page. Because they're sort of telling a bit of... When it comes to Ricky Starks, they're telling a story where, he's clearly next level, but he just needs the opportunity to get there. For Ethan Page, they're still building up the stuff involving MJF and the firm. And Ethan Page is clearly being positioned in the firm as the big player of that group. So it would not surprise me if that ends up being the final and one of those two goes on to the Winter is Coming special.
I mean, you could still do, if you're doing the long term, with MGF, the firm, and Moxley and stuff like that, this could be a good position to put Kingston in a position. Maybe. I'm not sure.
I mean, put it this way, Moxley Kingston would be great any day of the week. But I think with Kingston, they're very slowly building a storyline where he kind of keeps losing it a little bit.
Okay.
And stuff. Personally, I'd love to see Bandito v Mox. Like, give me that as the world title match, because Bandito's freaking great. But it might just be a little bit too soon.
Yeah. I would say safe bet might be Starks. I think Starks is a safe bet for this one. He won't win the world title, of course, but it's just like it'll be I think it will be hopefully an acknowledgement of the popularity he's built with the fans, because he is popular with the fans. And I like him as a wrestler and as a personality too. So yeah.
Agreed. So I mentioned the ROH title match that was booked. That was actually that was sort of arranged following Jericho's most recent championship defense, with the idea being he was going to defend it against any previous Ring of Honor champion, that being a champion who has held any title in Ring of Honor. There was a lot of speculation as to who it could have been, and ultimately it was former, I want to say, Ring of Honor tag team champion, at the very least, one Colt Boom Boom Cabana. And it was great to see Colt Cabana back on TV. It obviously, arguably, said a heck of a lot more from a backstage perspective, arguably.
Yep.
But it was very nice to see Colt back there. He genuinely looked pretty emotional about it as well. So it was just really nice to see him back on TV. Jericho got the win. I don't want to say obviously as a very disregarding remark, but it was just cool to see Colt back there. Who knows if it'll be a long-term regular thing or if it's just a one-off type deal, but it was nice to see him back. And that probably, as well as the teasers that they're doing for the Elite at the moment, it kind of probably says a lot more on a public-facing level than anything.
Yeah, it kind of in one way confirms, I think, what a lot of people probably know by now, or have probably just kind of started to come to terms with, I guess. But then craziest shit's happened in wrestling, so
exactly, we shall see.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Elite, not just to brush past that, because it was a fun match, good to see Colt there, but not to brush past it. It very much feels like we're building to the Elite v Death Triangle for the trios titles. We've had a couple of promos airing, one which showed a bunch of sort of like advertising things for the Elite, sort of being wiped out from existence and being replaced by Death Triangle. So they sort of showed the footage of them, of the Elite winning the belts at All Out, then sort of had like a Premiere Pro work timeline with the clip being changed to like the other title match that didn't involve the Elite and stuff. So it feels like we're very much building to Elite v Death Triangle, which undoubtedly the Elite will win because Pac is trying to convince Rey Fenix to cheat in matches, but Phoenix doesn't want to. So we're getting some dissension in that.
Okay.
So unfortunately, it may lead to a Death Triangle breakup, which is sad, but it'll be a phenomenal match either way. But one assumes, given the pay-per-view is a week and a half now, and based on what Tony Khan tweeted a couple of hours ago at the time we're recording this, in that tonight's going to be a newsworthy episode of Dynamite, one might assume, in some way, shape, or form, that match may be all but confirmed.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we shall see on that front.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we still got a week a bit and there's some more matches to go. It's like, I really hope they don't go stupid amount of match numbers again, because it's putting me off watching the pay-per-view. And I know
think
there's
it's
a lot
a
of
Saturday night pay-per-view this time as well.
Saturday night, which is fine, which means we could probably do it if we were brave and we sat through it on Sunday morning or watched it live. We could actually do a chat about it the day after.
We'll talk off air, sir.
That's a go.
So hold that thought. We'll come back to that because we'll get onto what I think the card is going to shape up in a second. But the other thing, the All-Atlantic title, Orange Cassidy is the champion. He's defended the belt rather regularly in three-way matches because he doesn't care, as it were.
So, I'll have a match. Fine. Against the bear, fine. I'll do that.
Literally, it's like two people having an argument. He just rocks up and they go, "What do you want?" He's like, "You two want a match? Have it for this. I don't care." It's like he just does a three-way. That's basically what it is.
He just turns up and just goes, "There's two of you. There's one of me. There's one of these belts. There's a ring down there. What about it? Let's get it."
He carries the belt in a backpack because that's how lazy he is.
belts are heavy. You need something to hold the belt.
Carry on his shoulder. But anyway, technically, I'm not going to get into that. So he defended the belt in another 3-way on Dynamite, and the stipulation for this match was Friday on Rampage. The champion would get to defend their belt against their dream opponent. Now, in the context of Orange Cassidy, you're just thinking, who the hell is the dream opponent of Orange Cassidy? Surely it would just be a bottle of apple juice or something. But it ended up being New Japan Pro Wrestling's Katsuyori Shibata. Now, to you, not calling you out here, just saying it like it is, that probably doesn't mean a heck of a lot. But to someone who's followed Japanese wrestling for a long time, that's a pretty big deal, considering the guy literally nearly died about 5 years ago because he headbutted Okada.
I mean, they kind of teased this quite a bit at Forbidden Door, didn't they? Correct,
they did. So it does actually make continuital sense. I've made up that word, but that'll do.
Narrative. It makes sense in the narrative. There we go.
See, that's why you're the brains and I'm the brawn here. So we get this match booked for Rampage, which it sounds like that Shibata basically wanted this match. Because he clearly gets it. He's like, look, I run the LA dojo for New Japan. I see some wrestlers. I'm up for that. Apparently, the other match he wants is Bryan Danielson. Freaking great. But we'll come back to that at some point in the future, maybe. Yes. And given that Shibata had a match at the Tokyo Dome where it was meant to be a light exhibition contest because, you know, he's not wrestled in 5 years because he nearly died. And then he literally, on the biggest show of the year for New Japan, got on the microphone, went into business for himself, and said, nope, we're going to have a proper match. And you could tell the English commentators were like, what? And you could see people at ringside were like, what? And you could tell everyone in the building was like, oh, yes? Yes? So, yeah, he's basically not been allowed to wrestle since that. But it's like, if it's not on his promotion, then fair game. The other interesting part of this, Iain, Mike Tyson was on commentary.
Because why not?
Do you know what? Honestly, mate, he was actually all right. There was a wonderful moment where he called an STO, and I think everyone was shocked that he knew it, but it was perfectly right, and Excalibur didn't correct him or anything. He's like, yeah, it's right. But Tyson got it. He was into the match. They clearly clued him in on some bits and bobs relating to each person, but it came across genuine. And that's what you want with a guest commentator like that. I will say, he dropped a random line when he first came out. I think he said something about a comeback, like before the match even began. At which point Excalibur said something to the effect of, oh, well, we may touch on that a little bit later, Mike. And it's like, my first thought was, he did do that angle with Jericho during the pandemic era that never went anywhere. Could they follow up on that? Which now has me thinking we're going to get Mike Tyson v Jericho for the ROH title at some point.
That's the newsworthy story tonight. Tyson just goes, I want to have a fight, but I want to wrestle. All right, fine.
There you go. Do you remember there was like the big pull-apart brawl between Jericho and him?
Yeah.
When it was in the Jacksonville days. So that was really good fun. Like, just seeing Shibata back in Orange Cassidy. It was a fun match. It was really good fun. It was just with like a couple of days build, no warning, and it's just like this is happening. Okay, sure, but Shibata basically just Shibata himself, who his persona, to give some context here, he is a serious wrestler. He will wrestle you to the ground. He is a great wrestler. He's no nonsense, and he himself is doing the Orange Cassidy take the piss kicks. It's wonderful. It was so good. It's worth going out your way to see. It's the first match on the show. Even just to hear the Tyson commentary, it is just quite an experience, especially if you know the full context around it all. You're just like, what is going on?
I'm just waiting for the BunkaMania cartoon drawings of like little Taz and little Excalibur and now little Mike Tyson next to them.
Joe, I will say, if you're not already, folks, try and check out the Fight TV feed of AEW because some of the banter you get during the commercial breaks. At the moment, there's just this running joke of of Taz and Tony Schiavone just busting each other's balls about baseball. It's just so dumb, but it's great fun. So, from there, what is the pay-per-view also looking like it's going to shape up like? I have tried to devise some notes as to what else I think, based on what we've currently seen, could be added. I'm fully expecting there will be more. So I reckon we're going to have Death Triangle v The Elite, which, like we talked about, kind of seems like the logical direction. Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose, because currently Nyla Rose has stolen the TBS title from Jade.
The Fiend.
Basically. That said, the Jade thing has really got to change at some point. It's overly stale at this point.
I mean, the winning streak is a cool thing and all, but you need to do something more with the matches. And again, maybe again, I'm not going to have this conversation again on this show about it, but it's just a bit more thought.
The way I'll put it is this, and I mean this with the politest respect, because I appreciate Jade is still relatively new in the industry, but there's an element of it's all well and good having a winning streak, but a winning streak also has to have other challenges. And we've now got to the point where she's wrestled certain people 3 times now for, like, be it in her streak or for the TBS title. And it's like, just get some other women wrestlers. You've got loads. Like, I'm almost at a point where I don't care if it's someone I don't know. Just have Jade say, I'm a fighting champion. Any woman in the back, come out and beat me.
Yeah.
Just do it like that. And even if she just pummels them in the face with a pump kick, there was a great clip doing around from one that she did in AEW Dark, actually, about a week or so as well. Even if it's like that, I might be sounding hypocritical. I'd rather have that than just have the same match over and over again, because it feels boring at this point. She's just beating the same people. And it also, in some ways, looks really dumb, because there are a lot of high-caliber women's wrestlers who aren't going for that title. You know, why doesn't Britt Baker go after it, for example? Why doesn't Jamie Hayter go after it? You know, I mean, Athena's gone after it once. They had a really good match at the last pay-per-view. Where has she been since as well? That's a thought. But, you know, you've got Japanese wrestlers coming in. There's loads of other wrestlers that you could have be involved in this. It feels too stale now. Something has to shake up. Something. I don't know what exactly, but something's got to be done. But I digress. I feel FTR might get added to the tag title match, because they did a thing where they came out to help the Acclaimed, but they notably held up the belts, looked at them, and then handed them back to the Acclaimed.
Okay, I'll believe it when I see it. Because at this moment, does Tony even know he's got FTR?
I mean, hey, they defended their belts in New Japan the other day, so
great, because New Japan know they've got FTR.
Oh, I'll tell you this now. Don't be surprised if they're not on the January 4th episode of Dynamite, because it's the same day as the Tokyo Dome show.
Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom. Yep.
So there you go. Elsewhere, probably Wardlow v Powerhouse Hobbs for the TNT title. But don't be surprised if before that Samoa Joe gets pissed off with Wardlow, because Wardlow keeps being a little bit brash.
I like the word power bombing. It's a bit better. I don't power bombing. It's like, no.
You could say he's being symphonic.
Moving on.
That's all I
had. Great.
No, so that's currently where I see the AEW pay-per-view building, which, if hypothetically, if I'm correct, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches. I reckon there'll be 10, because I'm expecting there to be a Darby Allin match. Speaking of which, I didn't put that in my show notes, but this needs to be talked about. Jeffrey Jarrett is in AEW, seemingly as a faction leader in 2022.
Because why not, Jeremy? Why not Double J?
Do you know what the funny part was? The way, have you seen this segment, how it unfolded?
It's someone was dressed up as Sting.
Okay, so let me give you the context here. So we get Sting and Darby Allin. We get Darby Allin and Jay Lethal, of which there's a wonderful moment because Satnam sings at ringside, and Darby Allin decides, I'm gonna do my really fast tope cannonball like move through the ropes on Satnam Singh. He does it on Satnam Singh. Satnam doesn't move an inch, and Darby just bounces and falls on the ground. It's like he hits a literal brick wall. It was quite funny. So the match ends, and we're getting like a beat down on Darby. And suddenly there is a figure dressed like Sting at ringside. And you can clearly tell it's not Sting because his face ain't moving. It's a mask. The guy comes in, hits Darby, unmasks, and reveals himself to be... Who? Was my reaction.
Oh.
At which point, Excalibur says, that's Cole Carter of The Factory. To which my first thought is, who the hell is Cole Carter of The Factory? And apparently it's the old Two Dimes from NXT.
Oh.
Which I don't know who that is because I didn't watch NXT, but I recall Cole Carter having a random match on TV, and I've never seen him since. So I don't care who it is. Which then leads to the ring being cleared somehow. I think it was Sting's music hit. And then this led to Darby standing up in the ring. And behind him was a man dressed in black with a black cowboy hat. And he's carrying a musical-based object implement called...
Triangle. A triangle. A triangle. It's a triangle. It's a triangle.
If only.
A triangle.
You can't get a wooden triangle, that's all I'll say.
The xylophone.
Just clonk.
Clonk. No, the scales.
There you go. So he then clocks him with a guitar, busts Darby open something fierce. His head is just bleeding. And then Jarrett cuts a promo, effectively says he's going to take over AEW, and ends it with choke on that slap nuts. And it's like, I'm in WCW in the year 2000. Younger Jeremy is partly like, oh, wow. But then also Jeremy is like, wow.
And then Jeremy's like, oh no.
So I'm now partly thinking, so now I'm thinking, are we going to get Darby v Jeff Jarrett at the pay-per-view?
No, we'll get Sting versus Jeff Jarrett.
I firmly expect it to be about that because Sting and Jarrett have had a long rivalry. I think it was, this is calling back now, Halloween Havoc 2000. Sting and Jeff Jarrett had a match where it involved various people dressed as different eras of Sting coming out to try and interfere.
Okay.
I'm expecting this may happen in this match once again.
It might not be very good either. Just gonna say.
Quite possibly. So we're probably looking at around 8 to 10 matches at the moment for the pay-per-view. That's going to be my estimation, which is a stark contrast better than 14 or 15 or whatever it was last time.
I would be comfortable with 8 or 9. I think 10 or more is really pushed it because I think when you look at, and I think we've talked about this before, I think when you look at how, say, WWE now pace their premium live events, 3 hours, 3 and a bit hours is that sweet spot. And you start going beyond that, your wrestling has to be either A, damn good, and the order has to be good as well. Because you can't just do big match after big match and then have like 20 small matches in the middle.
Question from the crowd.
No. Yes, go on.
Okay. Are you including or excluding potential matches that will undoubtedly be part of the buy-in pre-show?
I rarely watch kickoffs or buy-ins unless there is something major that I would like to see.
I think last time for me it was Eddie Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii, so it's like, yes, I am watching that match.
Well, that makes sense. But yeah, it's like if they're on the buy-in or they're on the kickoff, that those are throwaway matches, and it's like until someone, obviously Kingston and Tashaka Ishii, yeah, like that, yeah, makes sense. You want to tune in and see it because it's an exhibition. It'll probably be fun. But it's like in the old days WWE when you had like throwaway tag matches of just no actual importance.
They are, as I phrased it, non-canon.
Yes. It's kind of like the way of saying, look, here's some wrestling. Would it convince you to buy the pay-per-view? Probably not. I'd rather have like nice little promo bits happening backstage. Or like, I know WWE does a lot with like, they do a lot of the promo videos that they run during the actual premium live event. But in a way, I kind of also like just like a bit of backstage stuff because it's like if anything's going to sell you more on the pay-per-view, it's the promos and the characters of the wrestlers that are taking part in the match. Have an exhibition match, fine, but don't necessarily stuff some matches in there just because you've got an hour to fill.
Hopefully there isn't an NBA playoff game this time to try and work around. That's what I'm hoping for. So that's kind of what I just wanted to bring up with AEW, is it were kind of a very sort of not glossing over, but just like a broad-ranging thing. Because I imagine, depending on when we do our next one, we'll either be talking about Full Gear more in-depth or post-Full Gear. We'll be analysing how it was.
Yeah.
So why don't we touch onto some bits and bobs from elsewhere before we conclude today?
Which you mean wrestling around the world. Da, 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 da. I need to change those images. They're out of date.
So for the benefit of the audio listeners, we've got a graphic on screen right now where we currently have an image of the then Walter versus Ilya Dragunov. Great match.
Oh no, that's
Triple H.
Tyler Bate. That's Tyler Bate.
Oh, I thought it was Ilya. It just, they vaguely look the same from here. So that shows you what I know. We've got Triple H and Kevin Owens. We've got the Young Bucks kissing Adam Cole. Yep, that's definitely out of date now because they all turned on each other. Yep. And then we've got Cowboy Brock as a champion.
Yes. All out of date. We need to update those images. And we need to update those images.
Note to the producer.
Yes, mother.
So, let's talk about the AEW video game. Because there was a bit of discussion about that this week. Because a day or so ago, at the time we're recording this, there was a report doing the rounds that allegedly the AEW Fight Forever video game, whenever it is ultimately going to be released, will be on Xbox Game Pass day one. Now, my first reaction when I saw this news was, if that's the case, that is a big freaking move, an odd move in some ways, but in terms of potential reachability of people playing it, that's a massively good decision. And in terms of cost saving for potential buyers, freaking great. Like myself, I've got a Game Pass subscription on Xbox. It's like, yes, I'd do that day one in a heartbeat. Yeah,
I would as well, because I'm on Game Pass as well. And to be perfectly honest, as a gamer, I rarely buy games brand new. I think the last game I generally brought, because it wasn't on Game Pass and I wanted to play it and the reviews were actually getting good, was WWE 2K22.
I recently bought Gotham Knights, which let me put it this way. I like the game. I genuinely do. It's not perfect. Because I buy one game a year, generally it's brand new day one, and it's a Batman game, and I love Batman-related universe stuff. I went for the big, beefy collector's edition with a statue.
And we talked about this last episode.
And I won't labour it again.
Yes.
Find my personal YouTube channel, search for the word Giraffemy, Geraffemy. You can watch my unboxing and see my full views there. So, yeah, I've been burned when it comes to perceived value, but for the core game itself, I'm liking it. Like I say, not perfect, but I've seen people talk about, does this mean the game is bad? And obviously, we'll get to the current resolution of the rumor in a second, but just as a hypothetical discussion point here, I don't think so at all. Like, I would go about it as it's a potential way to get loads of people to try the game day one. That's the way I look at it, because then you establish an audience from a future playing base point of view, and I think that's the way to go about it.
Yeah, just because a game goes to Game Pass or PlayStation Now doesn't mean straight away it is a terrible game. It is simply something either the developers would like more people to play it, or they've managed to get some extra income from Xbox or PlayStation to do just that. Because I think, I might be wrong, I think 2K22 has, or some of the wrestling games, some of the previous WWE games have appeared on Game Pass. I'm not sure if it's currently. I'm not sure if 2K. I know 2K22 is discounted at the moment on places, but that's because it's been out for over half a year now. So it's kind of
course, it's kind of that time of year as well. We're getting towards Black Friday stuff. So
yeah, but no, I think a game going to those subscription services is not indicament of quality. It's more like either there is potential there. I mean, it's like Fall Guys, for example, Fall Guys, which is huge for Epic now. When Fall Guys came out, it was free to PlayStation Plus subscribers to just put in their library.
Look at Rocket League as well.
Rocket League as well. Just look at that. Again, a lot of Xbox first-party platform games go straight there now. And it's like for a games developer to put their biggest titles like Halo and that day one, with people not now having to go out and spend 70 quid on a game, it just encourages them to pick up the controller and just actually have a go at the game or actually see it, because then they might get more. They'll get something probably long term out of it from the person. So yeah, I think even if this rumor was true, I think for wrestling game fans, people will be going, yeah, this is cool. Why not? Let's do it. But no, AEW Games official Twitter put rest to that pretty quickly.
Yes, and this is what they said on their Twitter. Quote, the internet is buzzing about AEW Fight Forever, but at AEW Games, the Twitter account in question here, is the official, all caps, source for all news and info relating to AEW Fight Forever. Hang tight for a new exclusive AEW Fight Forever update next Saturday, November 19, during Full Gear. They then followed up immediately as part of a thread tweet saying, this also seems like a good time to share that we don't anticipate AEW Fight Forever being part of any monthly game subscription services. AEW Fight Forever will be available in-store at your favorite retailers or online. Reserve your copies today at aew.thqnordic.com.
Yeah.
So, straight from the horse's mouth there, they've said they do not anticipate it to be on any monthly gaming subscription services.
Mm.
Now, obviously, that's not a definitive no, but it's pretty clear as day to imply, nah, not yet anyway.
Not yet, yeah. I mean, eventually it probably will. It will probably down the road, but I think for release. But then I guess the underside to not going on to a streaming service straight away is, or not streaming service, subscription service, is the product that they release has to be good, or it has to be playable enough, because obviously like you're aiming, obviously you aim for your game to be amazing every time, but I guess I think for me as a game and wrestling fan, I think for me it's being able to pick up and play, and that's why, and we talked about this when we talked about WWE 2K22, I like the fact that the control systems for the latest WWE game were quite straightforward. And kind of, they were a bit different to what I was used to, but the more I played it, the more I kind of got into it a lot more. So it's got to be a game you can pick up and play. It's got to obviously capture that AEW magic. Obviously, there might be some issues with wrestlers featured at the moment in terms of front and center new packaging.
Is that the final packaging artwork, do we know, for the game?
It might change, but at the moment, that's continuously what the packaging is.
Yep, and you can't escape it because they keep mentioning it every week on TV. So you still at some point you keep CM punking the face. I can't make that work.
But then again, I think Cody Rhodes is a playable character anyway, so it's kind of like,
yes, which is ridiculous itself.
It's like Cody Rhodes is a playable character in this, but it's like I think Keith Lee's a playable character in 2K22, but he's not.
I mean, hey, look, at least Mia Yim's back in the company now, which we didn't actually talk about earlier, but she's now back in WWE.
Yes, she is the solution to the Rhea Ripley problem. It's nice to see Mia Yim back. I think Mia Yim unfortunately had a bit of a rough shake of the stick because of Retribution, because of Vince. Now, and the fact is, under Triple H in NXT, she was having a decent little run.
And her and Rhea Ripley, I bet, can have some damn good matches.
Yeah,
so that's really good to see her align with the OC. Yeah. So yes, on the AEW game front, I'm looking forward to seeing what the next update is going to be. At this point, I don't think the game is releasing before the end of the year. I reckon it will be by end of first quarter. So when's Revolution? That's going to be February time, right?
Yeah, I think they'll
I reckon February, March time, personally. But I think we're getting to the point now where I don't want to say the hype train for the game needs to amp up, but I think we're getting to a point now where there needs to be a more tangible, semi-regular updates as opposed to like once every quarter, in essence.
And the fact is, 2K were very good with WWE 2K22 in their promotion run, because it's like when they had the date and they were really steamrolling towards it, you'd have developer updates, you'd have roster reveals and stuff like that. So there's still a lot of stuff that they could do. So hopefully AEW Games has been all right in terms of making news and making announcements. So hopefully we'll see. We shall see.
Indeed. So let's really deviate now, because we don't often talk about this company, but let's talk about the National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA. Yes. So Nick Aldis, formerly known as Magnus, formerly known as Brutus Magnus, depending how far back you want to go into his career.
Or I think he's also Oblivion in Gladiators for Sky.
Correct.
Yes.
Sky One's Gladiators.
Yes.
I remember because I interviewed him during that time.
I think I might have mentioned it in a previous episode, but I actually got I think when he just started in TNA, I actually met him at a London Comic Con, and he signed a picture for me. And I think I randomly chatted to him about Gladiators, and I kind of thought, oh well, this is a step as like, oh, wrestling's a nice sort of step, is a career change from doing Gladiators, and he just went, well, actually, I've been wrestling quite a lot. So I learned something new.
Yeah, he's did a lot of stuff in the independent scene and whatnot. I remember interviewing him a few times around that time and sort of really sort of getting to know what he had done at that point, as it were.
Yeah.
But sorry, but I digress. So Nick Aldis revealed in a social media video, which was then removed, that he was planning to leave the NWA, in essence, handing in his notice, which has come out since was contractually obligated to be a 60-day notice period. Now, seemingly, whatever the context is, I can't fully remember, but the long and short of it is NWA/Billy Corgan were not happy about that. There was some words said, as it were, more pertaining to the conduct of Aldis from the NWA's perspective, kind of always being politicking and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
there are reports that Billy Corgan spoke negatively of the women's locker room and sort of the beginning of a strained relationship between... I think one of the key things is he didn't believe there was enough talent in the locker room to do like Empower 2, because they did that was their all-female pay-per-view, correct? They did their all-female show, I think. I don't know if it was this year or last. I think it was last year. Actually, they did Empower. Have a quick look while you're speaking. Yeah, I'm also having a quick look just to double check what was said about it. There we go. Empower. Let's have a look at the news. August 28, 2021. Yes. No, I'm trying to look at. Okay. So so he basically said there were no plans for it until we can provide a world-class event to some of the best professional wrestlers. So, yeah. Wasn't that also an event that was curated in essence by Mickie James, i.e. the partner of Aldis? Yes, I seem to recall there was a special theme about that show. I think there was some kind of, well, it was kind of like a big showcase for certain wrestlers, like for example Lady Frost, who went on to sign, I think, for Impact. But I think that relationship has soured somewhat as well. But that's another story for another time. Following on from this, and obviously the comments that have come out and such, and even Aldis has said, I think Aldis has alluded to the fact of if my decision is anything potentially relating to do with the lack of there being another Empower show, you'd be correct. I'm paraphrasing, but that's in essence what he said. Yeah. So clearly it's a bit of a strained relationship and whatnot, but this is also now escalated in that the NWA has suspended Nick Aldis from the events that are taking place this coming weekend. One was a pay-per-view where Aldis was scheduled to have a not high-profile singles match, but a match on the show nonetheless. And they were also doing some tapings of television as well after that, I believe. I think he was also recently removed from a title match for some reason that wasn't necessarily explained. Oh, I think I overheard someone say that he was replaced by Tyrus, the former... What was the Funkadactyl thing called? Brodus Clay. Yeah. That's a callback. There you go. So yeah, it's all sad, but like Nick Aldis is a fantastic performer. He could talk supremely well, has some great matches. Look back at the freaking match with Cody Rhodes he had, or the matches, plural. Like they were both great, but the one in All In particular is the one that stands out to me in the build to that. In terms of where he could go next, I don't know exactly if he would fit into the AEW dynamic in its current form. It kind of feels like that there doesn't really feel like a natural fit for him there at the moment. Would I like to see him there? Yes, but do I think he would fit in at the moment? I don't know where, as it were.
Well, Mickey's currently doing the storyline in Impact where when she loses the next match, she has to retire. So there could be.
He's got history with Impact, as we talked about.
He could go back to Impact, though it would be. I think it would be quite surreal because his contract only comes up in January. What happens in January, Jeremy?
Happy New Year.
No, other than Happy New Year.
I know.
Yeah.
A certain you could say a certain royal-based Rumble may happen.
Yeah, might bump into Cody in the Rumble and go, "Hey, remember we fought for a belt for the other company?" And
then Cody will go, and then Cody will go, "No, I don't remember."
Cody likes his wrestling history.
Yeah, but when Cody was challenging for the AEW title at the start of the company, he didn't acknowledge he won the NWA title.
Mean.
I'm just saying.
Mean. But I mean, considering we're at a stage when Mickey James could pretty much start entering the Hall of Fame any year now.
Mm-hmm. Arguably, should already be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we should already. Yeah, I mean, there is a potential kind of nice sort of full circle moment of Mickey and her husband working for the biggest company, one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world. It's like just for that, for even for a short period, it would be quite, I think, surreal because Aldis has been in NWA and Impact forever. It just feels surreal. It's like when James Storm just randomly turned up on an NXT episode like years ago. It's like, well, this is something new. This is something weird. I mean, I'm not sure if it will work out if he goes to WWE. I mean, the safest bet is he might pop up in Impact for a bit. That's it. But yeah, we'll see. But it's just like, considering all this has been very synonymous with NWA for so long, this is kind of like, this seems to be a bit of a big deal in a way.
Now, to be devil's advocate, if this all turns out just to be a complete elaborate ruse and he ends up being on the pay-per-view and is just back as a big full-time heel or something, then fair play, you guys worked us all. You know, on the off chance it is, because you can never be too sure in this world. Yeah,
you can. But I mean, it's got people talking. It's got
exactly.
It's got us mentioning about it. I mean, just quickly. Now we'll leave the link all this talk for a little bit, but we pretty much have. I just want to briefly say that one of the most addictive things that I have been listening to is from Impact, and it's the Joe Hendry theme song. Have you seen Joe Hendry's latest gimmick? Or just basically Joe Hendry just beating Joe Hendry? But basically, it's just Joe Hendry's just being basically like, all you need in life is the power of Joe Hendry. And then he has this big sort of musical moment. It's like, say his name and he'll appear to you, the Joe Hendry. It's like there's some real surreal bits on Impact TV at the moment where the backstage is like, don't you say his name. Don't you say his name. And then Joe Hendry just turns up with his little musical intro. And everyone else just claps along. It's bizarre. It's wonderfully funny. But it's just like, it's one of just the most random left field tangent things that I've kind of enjoyed just glancing at Impact now and then.
I keep meaning to wanting to watch Impact. It's just that
I hear there's some.
It's a harsh way of putting this. It's honestly always a really solid show. I occasionally try and find some bits and bobs where I can, but sometimes it's just nature of life doesn't necessarily allow me to add a lot more extra, or when I do, I want it to be certain things in particular.
Yeah.
For example, like how I watched Crown Jewel, I just ended up doing it.
Just stumbled into it.
Yeah, basically. So the final thing we'll briefly touch on, because I appreciate we're sort of running over the time we were aiming for here. The Montreal Screwjob, as I alluded to at the very beginning of this here show today, was 25 years ago today. It was, either way, it is a monumental moment when it comes to wrestling. It changed the landscape of a lot of things. And at the time, for want of a better phrasing, I was a young Jeremy who was not smart to the industry. So a lot of this flew over my head. It's only been from years gone by from watching the Wrestling with Shadows documentary and other bits and bobs and just other scuttlebutt and things you've read and heard about, that you really understood the full picture and what this meant. And obviously, from just quite frankly, the very long time it took for Bret Hart to even remotely consider, Owen Hart related matters notwithstanding, to come back to the WWE in any capacity. Like, that was a long, deep-seated thing that took a long time to try and sort of smooth over. But ultimately, it did have a massive impact in the wrestling industry. There's a lot of what-ifs there. What if Bret Hart had still been in the WWF come 1998, like one of the biggest years going into 99? And what could have happened? There's so many what-ifs, but I don't know if you ever go back and watch like a lot of the 97 stuff, Iain, but watching that match, it's such a hard-hitting match. Like, the way that Bret and Shawn work with each other, there is something about it where you're like, that felt snug to me. And I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a fan. But it's just the way that match goes about, knowing what ultimately is going to happen, where you have zero clue that it's going to happen when it does. It is remarkable how it all ultimately unfolded.
I mean, I actually haven't watched the match itself, but it has been covered to high health back in a lot of WWE documentaries. So the whole context, the elements around it and so forth are very well known to me in a way. In essence, it's where certain big things happened for WWF in a way at the time. You had obviously the birth of Mr. McMahon, villainous heel boss, which would be
that infamous line.
Yeah, the infamous line there, and the birth of a character who would be the antithesis to Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's kind of without that you don't get that in a way. I mean, I haven't really got much really more to really kind of muse on it really. I mean, obviously it is a landmark event in wrestling. Obviously, as you say, certain big things happened because of this, and there are some great what ifs in a way.
There are indeed. So yeah, if you're not familiar with the Montreal Screwjob, first of all, good on you. Like, how the heck do you not know about it? But it is worth going back and like reading up on it or looking up some documentaries, because it is a fascinating time capsule of an industry at that time, and when you look at what it became, and ultimately like what Bret went on to do. Quite frankly, like things have not changed since. But before we wrap up, though, I will just say, quick random update when it comes to AEW. Advertised per AEW's Twitter for Dynamite tonight is the following. The Acclaimed and FTR versus the Gun Club, or just the Guns as it's put here, and Swerve in Our Glory in an 8-man tag match. Bryan Danielson and Sammy Guevara 2 out of 3 falls. Eliminator tournament match, Eddie Kingston v Ethan Page. Jamie Hayter versus Sky Blue. It does just say Blue on here, but I had to think, who the heck is Blue? And it's not Blue Meanie. We hear from the AEW World Champ Jon Moxley. Britt Baker and Saraya will be face-to-face, apparently, because it didn't happen last week. And we will hear from MJF. Pretty loaded show, and one assumes there will undoubtedly be some more things to occur as well, as we have alluded to. So going to be a loaded Dynamite. And like I said, everyone, we are hoping to be back in the saddle on this, be it next week, perhaps more than likely the week after, to review Full Gear. But either way, we will be back within the next couple of weeks to talk lots more wrestling and no doubt how things unfold or lead to Full Gear. And we will elaborate and discuss accordingly and see what our respective brains thought of the late night Saturday extravaganza that will be the Full Gear. So on that note, sir, any other closing thoughts before we wrap up proper?
Black Adam was okay. I have nothing more to add.
Oh, we can talk spoilers now, can't we? 'Cause we're at the end of the show. So,
basically,
insert censor beep here.
So basically, I'm okay with Black Adam. There are some bits of humor that I do like in Black Adam, but you can tell it's the Rock Committee movie. That's unfortunately something that you do pick up quite a bit now in the Rock movies. I think if we actually saw the Rock or Black Adam get beaten down or taken down by a villain, then maybe that's a bit more believability. But yeah, it's just virtually Black Adam turns up and it's like, yep, he's invincible. He can walk through walls. He can just be very, what's the word? He can just be very intense with the stare and the smolder. That's about it.
I will say now, what I'm going to say is very much a spoiler warning. So if you don't want to know some finer details of Black Adam, turn off now, people, in the nicest way to put it. Thank you very much for listening, but I'm just saying now, spoiler warning. Find us on Twitter at Bunkerzilla UK. Share with a friend. You know the drill, as it were. So, I think one of the funniest parts of the movie for me was when we saw Rock looking like a regular human being. Because I'm not used to seeing him look skinny now. Like, he didn't even look that skinny when he was a wrestler.
That's like, hello, I am Joe Average Person. I'm still moderately big, but I have less muscle mass.
Hello, I'm Average Dwayne. How you doing?
It's Dwayne the Average Johnson.
No, it's Dwayne the Pebble Johnson. Not even a rock.
No, it's Dwayne the grain of... I don't know where I'm going with this.
Dwayne the Grain Johnson.
Grain of sand. There we go.
Oh my word! But I will say that the post-credit scene, because I went and watched it on day of release, and I'm hopefully doing that with Black Panther this week as well.
Oh yeah, it's out tomorrow.
Friday. I thought it was tomorrow, but it's Friday apparently. But I went and watched it day one, not knowing what the post-credit stuff was at all, because I kind of managed to just avoid everything.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my mind when that happened. I was like a kid at Christmas. I was proper like, just, oh, it was great. But I had a really good time with Black Adam, and if this is going to lead to great things for the DC films universe, as it were, I am all for it. I will say, I know The Rock is hyped up for many years now that like Black Adam was very much a character that he knew he could play. He wasn't wrong. Like there are very few other people I could imagine doing Black Adam that well.
He can play him, but he'll play him as The Rock playing Black Adam. He won't play. Basically, I'm going to be The Rock playing this character. Hello, I'm the character, as I am The Rock. I know that.
Is that the new BunkaMania thing? I am The Rock.
I am the Black Adam playing The Rock. I don't know. What was I going to say? Podcast I listened to, Weekly Planet, they made a really good point. And it's something that's like, yeah, I'm in the agreement too. It's like when Dwayne Johnson started doing like cinema work, films and stuff like that, and we had in the rundown, or Welcome to the Jungle for UK listeners, not to be confused with Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle.
Or the Guns N' Roses album, Welcome to the Jungle.
There's that moment where he passes Arnie and Arnie goes, have fun. And the point the Weekly Planet made was, where is that like defining like solo vehicle, or that original project, not based on like comic books or true story? Where is that defining kind of original character that would turn Dwayne into like Schwarzenegger levels of mega? And it's not, and that's not the fact that he's arguably one of the biggest stars in Hollywood going now. But the fact of the matter is, it's like he's appearing in franchise movies, or he's doing like combined franchise movies. Like Red Notice has got Ryan Reynolds and
what's very much his signature thing.
Yeah. What is the definitive Dwayne Johnson movie which doesn't star other famous people?
I thought you could say it doesn't star The Rock Dwayne Johnson.
what Dwayne The Rock Johnson film doesn't star Dwayne The Rock Johnson? Because it's like a lot of his big stuff. Jungle Cruise, you've got Emily Blunt, you've got Jack Whitehall.
What's the Golden Egg film?
Red Notice. So I've already mentioned Red Notice. You've got all the films he does with Kevin Hart and stuff like that. It's like, it sounds really strange, but when Arnie was doing his things, like the early stuff like Terminator and stuff like that, he was like the larger than life character who was front and center in this film, and he's anchoring the film. Obviously, there was human elements done by other characters, like in Terminator, like Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton, and Michael Biehn doing Carl Reese. But when you look at Arnie's filmography, there are a lot of his original kind of story stuff, like Raw Deal, Red Heat, Last Action Hero. I mean, we're going back and forth. Total Recall, True Lies, that sort of stuff.
Forgive me for interrupting, but it's in essence, when you think of that film, you think of him.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of one of the first things you think to immediately. And what will be The Rock's equivalent, if there will be one, of that? That's very much the first thing you think of is him. Yeah.
And because still the first thing you think of when you see Dwayne The Rock Johnson is wrestling. That's the thing. I mean, it's like Scorpion King could have been something. I mean, I have a soft spot for Scorpion King, mostly because the voice actor of Anderson from Helsing is the baddie, and I find it funny.
Just to make sure here, are we referring to Scorpion King as in his involvement in The Mummy 2?
No.
Or are we talking the actual Scorpion King, the film?
The actual Scorpion King film with Michael Clark Duncan, Kelly Hu, and had the soundtrack by Godsmack. God, I Stand Alone.
Oh my word, that's a freaking callback.
I Stand Alone.
So welcome to the film podcast here on BunkaMania.
Yeah. I mean, if we're carrying on films, it's very brief. I know we're going over time, but we're entering.
No, mate, I'm good for as long as you are.
This is post bunker stuff. This might not actually be on the audio podcast, so
stay tuned in a second for the proper outro that I'll be doing.
Proper outro, yes. I went to see One Piece Red on Friday, and it was a treat by our good mutual friend, Mr. Keith Copping, because I'd gone up to Milton Keynes for HataroCon, a brand new anime convention that was running in Milton Keynes, and the only showing we had in the evening was a 4DX showing. And I've never done 4DX from Cineworld. Now, 4DX for listeners is basically your seats are moving. It's like you've gone on a 4D ride like Shrek or back in the Fort Park days, or even if we're touching back and going full circle to Arnie, Terminator 2 3D days. That ride no longer exists. I'm sad because that ride actually had like a 20-minute film filmed by Cameron. It's like.
And let me guess, it's not archived on a DVD anywhere, right?
I don't think so, no. But there's a massive making of on like the Terminator 2 Blu-rays and stuff, which is cool. Anyway, side note over. So basically, the screen, the seats will react as the things go by. So basically, if you're in a motorbike and you're rumbling down the streets, your chair will vibrate, will rock you side to side. If you go near a puddle, you might get a little spray of water in your face. It's like it's basically chairs move, sense, wind, water, not heart, because this isn't.
It's immersive.
It's immersive. That's what it is. And with One Piece, you're on the sea. You got a little bit of swaying in the seat. You got the breeze going in the back of your hair. You're going, oh yeah, I feel like I'm a pirate now. I'm the king of the pirates, just like Luffy wants to be. And then the action scenes start. And whoever programmed for the 4DX print chose violence, because you feel everything pretty roughly, to be honest. So like you get multiple punches, your chair's going.
You not turn the seat down, so it was just like a gentle vibration back massage.
There's no. The only setting is water on or water off. There is no other setting on the seat, Jeremy.
Oh, I thinking you D-Box then? That's probably what I was thinking of.
That's probably D-Box. That's the volume up, volume down. That's all D-Box does. So at some points, me and Keith are just kind of rocking very violently in these chairs. Keith, bless him, thought at several times he was going to be flung out the chair. Because
I'm interested. Was this film subtitled or dubbed that you're watching?
Subtitled as well, so we're trying to figure out what's going on. And like there's flashes going on the screen. There's smoke being shot out the front.
You're trying to read the subtitles amongst conflict.
I'm listening to this banging song, but I don't know what's being said, Jeremy. Going all around the place. I think the fact is the film itself is actually entertaining. I've never watched a One Piece thing in my life. It's fine. It's something about becoming king of the pirates. This one just had a very crazy singer in the middle. Soundtrack's awesome. Would I actually go off and watch the 1,000 odd episodes of anime? Probably not. but I enjoyed the ride. And it was probably a bit more memorable because of the 4DX experience.
Personally, you're not going to forget it in a hurry, are you?
No, because my back hated me the next day.
Your back was like, "What have you done?"
It's like, why? It's like the seats are literally built like they're a theme park ride, just slightly more plush in a way. And it's like, I can't really put my feet off the chair and put on the floor because the seat might just suddenly go left or right or back and forth. Afterwards, Keith did sort of say, it's like, I'm sorry, chap, but they're not usually this violent.
Oh, no way that Keith can. So, in an attempt to give you a clean edit here for the end of the show, Iain, some relatively breaking news from the past hour or so. We were talking about the NWA, and we mentioned the Empower show, and you mentioned Lady Frost getting signed to Impact following that show and such. Yeah. Lady Frost has reportedly been granted her release from Impact Wrestling.
Hey!
Apparently, the 37-year-old announced in June that she had requested to be released from the company. It was then revealed in August that Impact had not granted the request. According to a report from Fightful, and this what I'm reading is per the Wrestling Observer. According to a report from Fightful Select, Frost was officially released from the company last month. There were people within the company pushing for it as it didn't seem productive to keep her under contract.
Oh, yeah. It's simple. If you've got a talent who doesn't want to be there, unless there is a legitimate reason why you need to keep them, let them be free.
Indeed.
In a way.
Indeed. So on that note, everybody, thank you very much for checking out this edition of BunkaMania, the official pro wrestling podcast of Bunkerzilla UK. You can find us on Twitter by searching at Bunkerzilla UK. And if you're watching the video version on YouTube, if you feel so inclined, hit that subscribe button so you can be notified as to when we go live with future broadcasts. If you're checking out the audio version and you found us on the likes of Apple, Spotify, Stitcher and such, thank you very much for listening to us on there, and make sure to tell a friend. We would really appreciate it if you enjoyed the show. Good sir, any other closing thoughts before we wrap up proper?
No, not really. As always, if you want to send your wrestling thoughts, then buckshot lariat them with communications over to bunkamania@bunkerzilla.co.uk. See, I'm making these better every episode, Jeremy.
I just wasn't expecting buckshot lariat them over. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that one.
I want to open my emails and have an email. Just do a barrel roll, just do a forward front flip, and then clothesline me.
I was going to say, do a barrel roll. That's something completely different.
Well, that's Star Fox. But anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back within the next few weeks where, no doubt, in some way, shape, or form, we'll either be previewing or reviewing AEW's Full Gear. Until next time, take care and speak to you soon.
And if you're very lucky, we might just do a little bit more film chatter. But we'll see you soon. Outro!